It is lights out and away we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 49 of the Hard or Soft F1 podcast. Formula One is back in 2023, and I'm here with my co-host, RJ McCullough, to discuss the first GP and lots of other things. We've got a lot of fun stuff in store for this week, so we might as well get right to it. RJ, you want to start us off with your 1 minute race recap, or do you have anything else that you want to comment before we jump right into that? How are you doing? It's a lot. It's just a lot.
Doing okay, but actually, it's not RJ, it's Archie Apex here.
Oh, shit.
So now that's a deep cut for the 20 people that watched the TikTok I posted, but I went with that as my gambling pseudonym, and I went 0-3, so I've been workshopping some new names for next race. So far, I've got Robbie Rims, or the leading candidate, Bobby Big Wheels.
I like that one more.
Bobby Big Wheels.
Make sure to follow our
It's your
TikTok
guy, Bobby Big Wheels.
to see these characters in action.
One of them will get hot, and look out, Bobby Big Wheels.
You're going to get a hot streak with Bobby Big Wheels for sure. But yes, we've got some betting F1 TikToks and some other fun stuff that we're going to be doing. But
We're doing that a lot more.
you're tasked with the first 1 minute race recap for Bahrain. So you want me to get this timer ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Give me a little 3, 2, 1, and then
I got you. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
it's lights out and away we go on the 2023 F1 season for the Bahrain GP. And the season's over. Max Verstappen has won his third straight championship. The Bulls were bucking. Back to the race, though. Stroll and Alonso touched wheels off turn 1, came out unscathed. Then Alonso had his first of many tussles, you could say, battles with Russell this time. Alonso prevails. Then Piastri had a DNF. The McLarens were absolute shit shows. Tractors. Then Ocon had a grid penalty and then got another penalty because he didn't serve that penalty properly. And then he got another penalty for speeding in the pit lane, so 4 penalties. Then we had a good old-fashioned Aston Martin-Mercedes battle. Thought it was for 5th, 8th. First, it was Lewis for Fernando. Turns out, didn't happen because Leclerc got a DNF. Then Alonso passed Sainz. Poor Charles. Turns out with the podium, Verstappen, Perez, Alonso, 99th podium for Alonso. It is Red Bull and Verstappen by a country mile.
Boom. With a couple seconds to spare. I was fully expecting you to just stop after Max Verstappen wins the 2023 season, and that would have just been it.
Yeah, I'll save that for later in the season when I'm actually pissed off.
I mean, I kind of already am. I'm not really, but I'm actually a little bit. I did, but I'm quite thrilled by a lot of the things that did end up happening this GP. The first thing is that in me and our podcast F1 Fantasy League, you for people that don't know, you through my own stupidity, you got Max Verstappen on your team, which is obviously your winning card.
Is he
good? He's okay, but there's some light at the end of the tunnel for me because I'm doing okay. I know. I guess we can kind of move this a little bit to the front since I brought it up a little bit early. But our league is extremely tight after the first week.
Yes.
I've got 49 points, and you have 52 with your 10 drivers and my 10 drivers. If Charles Leclerc had not DNF'd, I would be in the lead. And
if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle.
Listen, as long as she wants to be called your uncle, absolutely.
Well, a lot of ifs.
But if Charles had not DNF'd through reliability issues, I would be winning. But I'm not winning, of course. But my main point is that I have a chance this season because, I mean, obviously the Red Bulls just have unprecedented speed, but I just need the Ferraris to not keep DNFing this season, and I have a decent chance. But make sure you stay tuned through the rest of the season to see how our league pans out because it's extremely tight right now. But the GP, it's just, it's so disappointing to know how fast Red Bull is. I mean, there was a little bit of doubt sort of at the start of this season, but I guess we can sort of break that down in a little bit. Are we going to jump into this fucking punishment already?
Yes. So before we do, I also want to point out to the listeners that if anyone's new, Adrian's a Red Bull fan, and I know he really doesn't talk like a Red Bull fan because if Mercedes had just won by 40 seconds, I cannot say I'd be coming on this podcast saying, "Oh, this is disappointing." I'd be standing up right now, putting it in your face, right down your ear hole. So I think you're actually a Ferrari fan, but I'm gonna let you finish. But yes, even though Max won, and I don't know why I've said even though because it's all. So yes, I won. I'm ahead in the standings, but also last year you won pretty much every race. And I had to do the punishments, but I won overall. That's what I was trying to say. And this year, maybe it bodes well for you because maybe you'll win because you have to do 2 punishments on the first race. Because not only did my guy win, as I bumble through this explanation, not only did my guy, Max Verstappen, my guy, win, also Aston Martin, who I got in their constructors wheel draft, had a podium. So that's 2 spins on the wheel. Now, do you want to go through, since it's the first time, and now this will be on screen so people will be able to see, but do you want to go through the options on the wheel? There's 7 options, 5 punishments, 2 decents.
Yes. So, the wheel of punishments is first, so I'm just going to go through all the options it can land on. First, I have to race a full Grand Prix length race on F1 22 of Bahrain. Whatever AI or whatever the settings or assists will be, I guess, can be determined later. There are 2 free passes on the wheel, so if it lands on that, I don't have to do anything. There is a Max Verstappen punishment, so if it lands on that, I've got to chug his favorite drink or eat his favorite food. We got to do something. Which is RJ's going to come up with something.
His favorite food is tomato soup and beef carpaccio.
Beef carpaccio. I've never had that, but it sounds good.
No favorite drink, but yeah, that'll be a nice. So if it lands on that, I'm have to have that to start the episode next week. A nice little meal on a tray in front of you.
Some tomato soup,
Tomato soup, and that'll be a great audio of you eating soup on the podcast.
Yeah, so much slurping. Oh, Jesus. Yeah. The next one is I'm not allowed to watch the first 5 laps of the next Grand Prix, which will be in Jeddah. The second is I have to shave my mustache. And then lastly, I got to chug a Red Bull. It's Red Bull. And just to rebut what you said earlier, I am a Red Bull fan. I do like Ferrari. I'm not a Ferrari fan, though. I don't fully support Ferrari. I definitely fully support Red Bull. The only reason that there's just a little bit of hesitation is because, unfortunately, I fucked up and did not stick by my team. And I almost don't feel like I deserve to be a Red Bull fan with all the hype and just the complete domination that's going to happen this season. But that being said, this podcast aside, I'm very thrilled. I mean, it is just... But also, as just the casual F1 fan, also, it's a little disappointing just that we're not getting the fun championship battle that we all hoped for. But that being said, do you want me to spin?
Let's spin the wheel. Do you want to do first one that it lands on? Or do you want to do an elimination wheel? Which would just be each one that happens, you just take it off.
I'll do whatever it lands on.
Okay, that's a lot quicker. Since you have to do 2.
I got you. All right, we are recording.
All right. Give her a whirl. And don't you dare lie, because it's recording.
It's recording.
All right. Which one do you want least?
Red Bull chug. First one.
Oh, okay. I'll just write that down. Red Bull chug. Okay, Red Bull chug.
So next week I will be chugging a Red Bull on camera. We don't have a...
I did that. 16 times last year. Or
Fucking
17,
right.
whatever.
So many. All right, spin number 2. We're jumping right into this. Full Bahrain GP on F122.
Oh, baby.
Oh,
You have a week.
my God. Let me make sure that recorded. I believe it did.
Rain.
It did.
GP. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. And that'll obviously change every week depending on the track.
Yes. That's so much fun. God, Max really just cannot win every single race. I need you to do at least a couple punishments, man. I mean,
Checo will win at least 2 or 3. Charles should win, hopefully, at least 2 or 3, and then maybe Carlos will get 1.
I could see that. I could see that happening.
Yep. Yeah, Max can't win 23 races. Like, he's going to DNF at least 2 or 3 times. But
it has to happen.
Like, if him and Alonso ever actually battle, like, they could tussle. But yeah, so you've got a Red Bull Chug next week on the episode and a full Bahrain GP within the next week. And the good thing that you have going for you is since you're the first one to have this punishment, you get to decide the AI and what team you want to race with, I guess. You can either do Max because he's your favorite, and then I'll do Lewis, or you can choose Ferrari and we both do Ferrari, or whatever you want to do. And if you want to make a video of it, you can. You don't have to. We'll do this on the trust
TikTok.
process.
TikTok
just a couple
and
pictures
Instagram
to show that your progress as you're going. Because as someone that had to do this last year as a punishment for the Monaco Grand Prix, that was awful. Hands were hurting. And that's Monaco, so that's way worse. But
yeah,
Bahrain's not too bad, but it is, 57 laps? Something like that? So,
yeah, it's brutal.
It's brutal.
And, dude, I was brutal on you last season. I was like, Monaco, bitch.
Yeah.
Full Monaco.
I put it on low AI, though, so it was like very easy. But so, yeah, you can decide if you want to make it competitive. But regardless, you don't have to win. Just, yeah. So that's
just finish.
We've gone through that.
Just finish the race. I'll go ahead and say, I'll probably set the AI to like 70. And
nice.
I'll just set the cars to equal performance so we can race with whoever team we want. So I can pretend to be Fernando Alonso and get a podium.
Yeah, that's right.
Speaking of, should we get into this actual Grand Prix? Because, I mean, it is just so much happened and so little happened at the same time. Expectations were met, exceeded. They were not. They were. I'm sounding like a toddler with my vocabulary right now. They were exceeded and they were not exceeded, but that's what actually happened. It's
so well spoken.
Yeah, so well spoken.
You should have a podcast.
Exactly. Everybody should have a podcast.
Want to go team by team?
Yeah, let's go team by team. Let's start with.
I mean, I covered everything in my 1 minute race review, so
exactly. So
let's go team by team.
What else is there to talk
about? Bottom to top or top to bottom?
I was about to suggest bottom to top.
You would.
So I guess we'll look at the constructors' standings after just one. So we've got 3 teams this weekend with no points.
I mean,
I have, yes.
Okay, I was gonna say it's even though I knew this, one of these teams. It's just shocking to see McLaren listed at the bottom.
McLaren had an just complete stinker of a weekend. They're first on the list. They're 10th, obviously, because they had
horrible
Oscar DNF. I mean, it is just so disappointing. It's almost like they have deteriorated from last year. I don't understand how that's even possible when multiple teams, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, but I will include it later when we get to this team, but multiple teams seems to have stepped backwards from last season. Not necessarily a huge step, but you expected, especially with some of the things we were seeing in testing, that these teams were going to take a step forward. But what did you think about McLaren? I mean, Oscar Piastri, it was just a sad debut.
Yeah, there's some teams that took a step backwards. Anyways, what did I think? I think it sucked. It's hard to see, really. I mean, I can see it kind of through 2 lenses. I guess it's really like 3 really. Like it sucks. It's sad really for Oscar that his first race ended that way. It seems like the McLaren has like Lando was keeping up pace wise with Lewis and Fernando for laps and laps near the end, but that's when tires were heated up and the car was going already. It's just not a good situation. Feel bad for Oscar. He expected some growing pains, but when it's not his fault and the engine just conks out, especially the way it did, it sucks. Lando had like 5 pit stops. I don't know how many exactly he had, but like,
6.
Oh wow, I was being hyperbolic, whatever the term is. When I said 5, I thought it was 4. Holy shit.
I'm almost positive it's 6.
Why even keep going at that point? It's just so frustrating. And I mean, Zach Brown was the team principal that happened to be on the radio. Like they always have one team principal on the broadcast, and he was the one this week. Just awful. Worse really. We knew it was a bad car, but the reliability and the speed and everything being bad, just worst case scenario. The only thing that I can take as like a silver lining, and this isn't a good thing for McLaren, it's a good thing as an F1 fan, is that Danny Rick just must be, as much as he's like the nicest guy, there must be a little part of him that's like, yeah, that's fucking right. It wasn't me. Not that it really makes him look any better at the end, but it's got to be just a little part of him that's kind of like, yeah, that's right. Those are my thoughts on McLaren.
Yeah, I would for sure agree with the Daniel comment. He got paid like 18 mil to not drive this piece of shit car, so he definitely came out on top.
Lando
as much
was
as
the
it
last
sucks.
place guy for people who finished. So,
that is sad.
I know. He actually had, while we're on the topic of McLaren, I don't know if you saw, there was an article that came out, and the quote I think is out of context, but it was him saying like, when Lewis came to McLaren, he had a championship winning car and he won all these titles. Like if Lewis was on McLaren right now, he wouldn't be winning races. My point to that, the year before Lewis joined McLaren 0 race wins. The year after Lewis left McLaren, 0 race wins. Now, obviously that's not the point. I think Lando was just trying to say like, because he probably got asked like, how come you're not, or do you feel disappointed that your career's not looking like it's going to match up to Lewis's or whatever? So he's probably just talking about that. But yeah, he's I say all that to say he's like an immense talent, and I think even though he has a contract, there's ways to get out of contracts, and if this keeps if this is the course of McLaren right now, I look out Sergio Perez or Carlos Sainz, because your seat is like, it's a hot seat. Yeah. Lando's not going to stay there. He is like as good as it gets, basically, he's almost as good as Charles, and so he should be. Yeah,
for sure. And we can move on to Haas shortly, but I agree with, I'm sure he's talking to his manager, his agent, or whoever, and he's like, we need to just like put a memo out to. That's the issue, is that, it's the start of a fucking season. There weren't very many seats, like desired seats, that is, at the start of the season. So he's got to like try to rob someone pretty much if he wants a decent seat. But I mean, you got to really think about Piastri. Like, even though Alpine only got 2 points today thanks to Gasly, it's still, it would have been smarter to stick with Alpine in the long run. I mean, but like, unless he wants to be McLaren's like 7 to 10 year long golden boy, like Lando has been. But Lando, he needs to go to, like you said, Red Bull, or being teammates with Charles. But I also like Carlos, but we'll get to them. I have thoughts on those drivers.
Mercedes, but Lewis, I think, is going to be there for a few years. George is going to be there for a while. So
yeah.
But yeah, no other team would really make sense to lead for. But if you can get on Ferrari or Red Bull, I'm sure if Max was okay with it, I think Red Bull and Horner would be happy to be like, Checo, take a hike, pal.
Yeah.
Next year. But
I could definitely see that happening.
We'll be tracking that. But yeah, so as you said, Haas. Gunther.
America.
Hulk smash. Hulk had a great qualifying.
Amazing.
Great qualifying. Came out good, disappointing qualifying. But they finished 15th and 13th. My thoughts on that, I don't know. Like the car actually looked like it wasn't bad. It wasn't by any means the worst car, or like it didn't stand out as there wasn't really no car that stood out as being like significantly the worst car. We can discuss that at some point, but yeah, I don't know. It just like obviously a little bit of a disappointing race. Not really. They're a team that I don't really have too many takeaways with. They're kind of any week that they get points is a really good week for HOS. So whether they finish 11th or 20th, I mean, nothing really huge takeaways. I was impressed by Hulkenberg. I don't know necessarily how he dropped so much in the race. Maybe you followed that a little bit more. I'm not sure. But yeah, not really too many takeaways on HOS for me.
Yeah, I just don't know if the car has amazing race pace mixed with just not great strategy calls. I think Haas could have potentially gotten up into the points if Nico had been able to hold his position a little bit better and if they had maybe done a little bit better pit stop calls, because I think they did. Yeah, Magnussen was the only one to start off on a different tire. But yeah, I think this weekend, or yeah, this debut is a little disappointing considering how special the 2022 season starter was for them last season. So, yeah, I mean, Nico brought it out in quali, but Kevin brought it out in the race, which was, so they kind of did a reverse of what they needed to do. But yes, next is AlphaTauri. I was super pumped that Yuki was, able to qualify so far ahead of Nick DeVries, because Nick DeVries, had so much to say about wanting to prove that he's better than Yuki and to like excel ahead of him at a pretty quick rate. But yeah, they both did just pretty poorly today. Just bad car, bad strategy, not great driving. And I really kind of regret picking Nick DeVries. I mean, I didn't pick him necessarily early, but I mean, I think people were just over. I mean, myself included, were just a little overhyping him a little bit. But he just did not do a great job throughout the entire weekend. So what did you think of AlphaTauri?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not a team I have too much to say on.
I've got both of them on my team.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't see them too much on the broadcast. Yeah, DeVries definitely disappointing. I mean, not that I wasn't expecting him to be like up in the points or anything, but he was never really a factor. And yeah, so yeah, really not really a factor for me. And if I had to say like the team that I maybe have the least faith in this year, it might be them. Like going into the race, it was Williams.
Sure.
It might be them, honestly. So that's really my main takeaway. Any other comments on them, or you want to move on to Williams?
We can jump into Williams. You've got both of those drivers on your team. I think out of all of the rookies this season, this is my only thought on Williams. Besides that the car, looks decent, that I think Logan Sargent had the best rookie debut out of all the rookies this season. So props to him, even though he wasn't able to score points.
No, 12th and 10th.
Still, commendable result. I know Zhou was able to get points in his debut last season, but in a Williams, I mean, massive, massive progress from them.
Yep. I don't have too much to say on them either. That Duracell is just, it's brilliant. It's a great idea, that little Duracell thing.
Looks so good.
Yeah, it's going to be something we see more of in different ways. But yeah, really, really impressed by Logan Sargent. As an American, that must have been nice for you to see.
Fuck yeah.
He just was very, went about it very quietly.
America.
Wasn't flashy, just kind of, America, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
And then Albon, good job for him as well, getting points. They're another team where anytime they get points, it's a good week for them. So
yes, Alex.
Yeah, I think pleasantly surprised. I watched the post race stuff, and Albon even said he was sort of pleasantly surprised by how well they did this week. So yeah, all in all, just a team that I think we're both kind of subtly rooting for. We want to see them do well. They're a historical team, but yeah,
new team principal seems to be doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, so good on them. Things are finally on the up and up. They're sort of the old, what Haas was, they're sort of that. So, the they were the bottom feeders. Now it's kind of nice to see the teams at the bottom at least making progress. On to Alpine, and obviously they had a bit of an interesting day, kind of a tale of two. That would have been nice if I could have pulled that line off, but I couldn't think of the last word. A tale of two tales.
A tale of two tales.
A tale of two tales.
We both have some stellar,
right there.
some stellar vocabulary.
Just two guys that are meant for a podcast. We got faces for radio, but we got no vocabulary.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we had Gasly starting 20th, I believe, and finishing 9th. And then we had Ocon with 94 penalties in one race, and he DNF'd. So, I mean,
yeah.
Gets a penalty for lining up wrong on the grid, which I've never really seen someone get penalties for. It was very, very minuscule. That's the one interesting thing. Like, he got a lot of penalties, but they were all so minuscule. Like, he got that one penalty, and then they broke it down when he drove in and did like the 5-second penalty for it. He got another 10-second penalty because he left early, but it was like 0.4 seconds early that he left. And then he got a penalty when he left that for speeding in the pit lane.
Yep.
And he was going, I think, 0.6 miles or kilometers per hour over the limit, which is, I believe, 60. So, like, yes, he broke the rules. And obviously the not staying long enough in the box isn't his fault. It's probably a problem he has a lot in his life. But, yeah, anyways. So, I don't know. I don't really know. Like, it just sucks for Ocon, but also like don't really like him that much. So whatever. But at the end of the day, like very impressive race from Gasly. He mega race from him. If it wasn't for Alonso, he probably would have been the driver of the day. So yeah, good for them. No real takeaway on how good or bad the car is. It looked really bad at times. Looked decent at times. Pink looked okay. The big logo on the side kind of takes away from it for me, but. Yeah, what did you think?
I was under the impression that Ocon got that 10-second penalty because they held like the coolers up to the car, and because I heard Brundle say something like you're not allowed to do anything.
They didn't wait 5 seconds to start. Yeah, sorry.
It was you're also probably right. I think he did also let off the brakes just like a 100th too early. But yeah, it was the little things that just kept coming back to haunt him. Ocon, he had a bad weekend. Like one of the worst openers ever. Like comically bad. Just kept happening. But I mean that the stewards are being extra strict. If it's being enforced on everybody else, it's just how it is. Props to Gasly. I was originally saying that Alpine would have been better off if Oscar had stuck around. But Gasly is an experienced driver, so I do think that he's going to have like some success, obviously more success, because this first race was a complete success for him. Because at the start of the race, P20, I was like, dude, what the hell? But he fought back, and yeah, props to him. Also, I agree with you. The pink just looks good in photographs. It looks like a piece of chewed up bubble gum on the track, honestly.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Not good.
Absolutely.
But Alfa Romeo, on the other hand, that's a beautiful livery.
Yeah.
It looked so good under the lights, and that's conveniently our next team. They had double the points of Alpine, going from a weak 2 to a strong 4. That is some big numbers there.
It's a big lead.
Yes, thankfully Bottas, my boy, my fucking Finnish boy. We love Finland. I love Bottas. He's one of my favorite drivers on the grid. He's just one of the best personalities to me, even though he's so like stone cold. He's just one of my favorites. But I was really, really surprised. He did a great job today. Joe as well was putting in some good fights. He was defending pretty well. The car seems like a pretty decent midfield car at best. You know, they're not pushing Aston Martin levels, of course, but I was happy he was able to score some points. I don't have a ton of thoughts about that team, but happy Bottas was able to score some points today. Do you have any thoughts on them?
Honestly, no thoughts on them. Bottas 8th. Bottas 8th. Zhou Guanyu Zhou. 16th.
That's
are my
it.
thoughts. On to the big boys.
Yes.
Number 4.
The ones we've been waiting for.
Ferrari.
Ferrari.
Sorry. We both simultaneously had something in our throats there. I'm gonna let you take this one away as the Ferrari fan of the podcast.
Yes, I made a trade with you.
So real quick,
yes.
Just to keep things consistent, I want to give the finishes. 4th place for Carlos Sainz. No place for Mr. Leclerc.
Did no place.
Charles.
Yeah, Charles. I've got Leclerc and Sainz on my fantasy team. I traded.
Oh, you do?
I traded Russell. Hey, listen, it worked out. It worked out. But I traded Russell for Sainz, and I also traded Gasly for Bottas. So just for the first race, it worked out just by a very small margin.
Yep.
Ferrari is gonna be the biggest disappointment of this season. I think Mercedes is gonna be close, depending on who you like to watch and who your favorite drivers are, because I think it's pretty close. But Ferrari were supposed to be, they were the ones that we expected to be the challengers. And I mean, I don't know if I'm the only one that felt like this, but when I literally, like, Max was gaining a second a lap on him. We've got a guest. Oh my goodness.
Welcome.
Yeah, Max is gaining.
Shit about Mercedes.
She's a Lewis fan. She doesn't like George, but she loves Lewis. Sweet girl. But yeah, Max is gaining a lap on Charles. I mean, what are you going to do about that? Ferrari saved a set of softs to have that edge at the start on Red Bull. Red Bull are going out on used softs, and he's pulling out a second a lap on the guy in second place, Ferrari. So disappointing. Just took the wind out of my sails. I'm still so happy that F1 is back. I will always love watching racing and qualifying and the drama. It is just the best sport in the world. I will always think that. But I can also say that there's going to be a lot of boring moments this season, for sure. And Sainz, I don't know what Sainz is doing or what's going on, if there's something wrong with the car, but he is just like not getting it together. He's just struggled so much this weekend. Yeah. It's obvious. I mean, during qualifying, during practice, during the race. Yeah. Granted, he was sort of at a disadvantage with Alonso, but the fact that he wasn't able to hold off the supposed fourth fastest car. I mean, they're not the fourth fastest car, by the way, but we can get to that. But what were your thoughts on Ferrari, just besides my sheer and utter disappointment?
Yeah, Ferrari's going to Ferrari, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, Sainz, I don't know. He almost seemed like okay with, or like just, yeah, I don't know. He didn't really have that, like, there was no lion in him. Like, and I say lion like the animal lion. Like when they were like push a little more, he just was like, oh, I can't push or I'm gonna lose the tires. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess that's a fair point, but I just wanted to see a little more like fire out of him. He just didn't really.
Yeah.
I don't know. He just like, he seemed resigned to, all right, I'm gonna finish fourth. Like, he could have, I don't know. Whereas Charles, I feel so bad for Charles. Like, he had the pace. It would have been a podium for sure. Like, if Fernando wasn't going to catch him. Yeah, it sucks that they're so far back from Red Bull. Yeah, like, I was going to say this in the Mercedes thing, but even George Russell said Red Bull should win every race this year. I know he's being a bit hyperbolic, but
he's pissed.
Yeah, and I mean, like, for Charles, like, Charles was pissed. Yeah, no, like, that was George that said that. But Charles, rightfully so, was pissed. Like, when you saw him when he got out of the car, just almost disbelief. Like, he's another guy now. It's not to the same level as Lando, but I mean, at a certain point, I don't think he was going to leave Ferrari, but I mean, if this happens for this year and then another year, like, I don't know. I mean, it happened last year. He should have at least been in the title fight. It's not, it just wasn't, like, again, I don't expect him to actually like contemplate leaving Ferrari, but not a good start. Just an awful start. And I mean, one thing I'll give them credit for, they took a lot of heat for their qualifying decision to not do one last hot lap or quali, like whatever, however you want to call it. Like they didn't go out for one last lap at the end of qualifying because they wanted to save an extra set of softs. And for their strategy, it was the right, like if he didn't, if his engine didn't conk out, it was the right strategy for them. So he even said, like, if there's any positive that he can take away is that they made, for once, he didn't say for once, but I'm going to say for once, they did make the right decision. Because realistically, he wasn't going to move up anywhere on the grid, really. So it wasn't worth burning a set of tires. But if that's your main positive from the weekend, that's not a very good weekend. So, yeah, just disappointing. Everyone wants to see, even a Red Bull fan as yourself, as much as I joke, I know you are a Red Bull fan, even you want to see at least a fight. So as a Mercedes fan, it's not great. It's really not great. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Ferrari.
Yes. One more thing. I do agree with what you said that Sainz didn't show a ton of like courage, or he didn't have that dog in him to push. Yeah. But between Leclerc and Sainz, Leclerc is much, much better at gaining speed and maintaining speed while also maintaining his tires. Sainz is not very good at maintaining his tires. But to both of their credit, the biggest problem it seems with the Ferrari is just that tire degradation is just unbelievable. Like Ferrari is another one of those teams. I'm lumping them in with Mercedes and McLaren. How have you not managed to improve and fix these problems to an extent before, or at least over the winter break? Like, how have we made no progress? Like, how are these multi-million-dollar companies, like, I understand the budget cap is a thing, but how did Aston Martin do it? And I'll tell you what the answer is. The answer is that Red Bull got it right last year. They got it right, and every other concept has failed. So now everybody's diverting, and they're going to the Red Bull side bod concept. And I genuinely think that's what Mercedes and Ferrari are going to do, is that they're giving up on their current designs and they're going full development on, like, all right, we know what we got to do now. We got to try to, which is also a bad thing because then they're going to be chasing the team that's had 2 years of development time with this concept already. So it's just a lose-lose situation for both of these teams. That's all.
So Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton finished 5th place, and George Russell finished 7th place. It was a good drive for Lewis Hamilton to finish in 5th place this week. I don't know. I'm torn. Like, just so disappointing that they're this far off once again. Again, yeah, the whole off season, and they're just like, yeah, their car may be a little bit better, but the other cars are better, like proportionally better than they got. So like, it's just very disappointing. Yeah, Toto already said that they're gonna go with a new design with the side pod, basically copying the Red Bull design, like the side pod part of it, not the whole car. Which, yeah, as you said, it's sort of unless they can come up with some sort of other crazy aerodynamic invention, they're just resigning themselves to they're basically waiting until 2026. And that's why everyone kept saying, like, oh, why don't they change the car? Why don't they change the car? The reason not change the car is because even the Red Bull engineers admitted, like, if the Mercedes car, like, if they could get their design right with what they have, it would be a very, very fast car that would be fighting for the top of the grid. But they just haven't been able to get it to where it's performing properly. So, like you said, if they switch the Red Bull design Red Bull's already been using this car for 2 years, this design for 2 years. They're going to be way ahead. Like I said, Mercedes or anyone will just be chasing. I guess the only silver lining is Aston Martin has Mercedes engine and Mercedes gearbox, I believe, and they're so much faster. They're probably the second fastest car. So even that though, Mercedes doesn't want to be the second fastest car. So yeah, it's just like it just seems like a huge chasm between actually winning races and finishing on the podium. So yeah, just very disappointing. And as a Mercedes fan, that's really all I have. I was happy to see Lewis, like good battles and stuff on the track, but yeah, pretty much all the excitement I have for the season. I'm not gonna say it's all gone because I just still love watching racing, but just yikes. You talk on Mercedes. I just have to get the door over for a sec.
No worries.
Tell me what you think about Mercedes.
I got you. Yeah, Mercedes, again, major disappointment. How has there not been improvement since last season? I know everybody was thinking there was going to be, at least some improvement, and I do think that Drive to Survive has a little bit of some responsibility in that, especially with it goes with McLaren too, like the way that these guys talk. I mean, this goes for every single team. I'm not singling out these two specific teams because this goes for Red Bull, for Ferrari. Everything that F1 teams tell you is a lie. Everything they say is a lie. Everything that comes out of their mouths is a lie. Even if it's a truth, it's a lie. They don't know it's true. It's a lie. It's what the PR agent or whatever told them to say. It's what they think is the best interest of the company and the team. It's a lie. So that being said, I completely get people's frustrations because even Toto Wolff said there are no positives. I almost tried to do an impression there. There are no positives to this weekend. Like a Gunther Steiner. But yeah, no positives to this weekend, which there's not. I mean, there's no porpoising like last season, and they've improved their lap time, a little bit, or not a little bit, pretty significantly from last year, but so has Red Bull. So it's a major disappointment because I can't imagine this. I mean, Lewis really has just got to be, I mean, to be fair, he's feeling like all of his predecessors. Everybody goes through it. Seb has gone through it. Fernando's gone through it. It's finally turning around for Fernando potentially, but it just always happens to the championships. I mean, Michael Schumacher was on Mercedes up until they got good. He was driving the tractor, then he stopped, and then all of a sudden, they're fucking up to 100% out of nowhere. So I'm sure that has just got to be really like weighing on his mind. Just like, how long can I deal with this? Can I wait for the new regs in 2026? Will we get it right by then? But George, I'm sure when he signed with Mercedes during the 2021 season, he had got to envision more race wins and fighting at the top more. So I'm sure there's disappointment all around. And I also think that, Mercedes has had a lot of their staff poached by other teams in the last 2 years. I don't think people talk about that enough. I think that has potentially hurt them. They clearly cannot get the type of just speed and dominance that they once did. So
something missing.
Something.
I think they at one point had Adrian Newey, I believe, and if he was one of the people that went to Red Bull, if that's the reason, I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I thought he was with. I'll look that up.
Always with Red Bull, so he just.
I thought he was always with Red Bull, but I could be wrong.
No, you're probably right. I'm trying to find some sort of justification in my brain. Yeah, I guess the only last thing I want to say about Mercedes is that George Russell took about, 10, 15 laps for him to start pissing me off already. Coming on the radio, like, is Lewis just going slow, or is this part of the strategy? I don't know why that's my George Russell impression. He doesn't sound nearly that cool. yeah, like, and then Lewis starts pulling the gap away. Like, just shut up, George. Yeah, happy that Lewis beat him. I guess that's my main one thing. Yeah, I don't know. Disappointment. Another one of my sports teams just shits the bed. You know, what are you gonna do? That's just life over here in Toronto. But go Leafs, go!
Go Leafs, go!
Yeah, on to Aston Martin.
A
team that actually impressed.
Yes.
I'm gonna say quickly, as you know, the only team that has a Canadian on it, being in Lance Stroll. I'm a Canadian, as you know, and Lawrence Stroll, also a Canadian. I don't know if Canadian by it, but I think Canadian. So just, nice to see a good Canadian team up there doing well. I don't like seeing Aston Martin doing really well, but I am happy for Alonso. As much as I'm not a huge fan of him, I am happy for him. That movie Pulled on Lewis was like unbelievable. Obviously, the only reference we really have, aside from watching on TV, is playing in the video game, and I think that gives us at least some sort of perspective on certain spots on tracks. And that's just not a spot. That's a spot on track where you're just trying not to spin in the video game, basically. Mm-hmm. That's a really hard turn and change of direction and different, like the slope and everything. So, yeah, like, wow, that he pulled that move there and got the DRS. So, just, yeah, very impressive. So, good for Alonso. Happy for him. 99th career podium and first one in, forget how long, but there's definitely teenagers I don't know about teenagers, but there's kids out there that are F1 fans that have been watching for longer, or have been alive for longer than he's not had a podium.
It's been a while.
Really happy for him. Yeah. Also, Lance, like, I guess we should mention, like, he had more injuries than we thought. He had a broken toe and the wrist, I don't know if they're saying broken or fractured or whatever the case may be. Couldn't even turn his steering wheel properly in qualifying. And I think that also contributed to the turn one incident where he probably couldn't react as quick to get out of the way. But yeah, that would have been, imagine that if they actually crashed out on turn one, what a disaster that would have been. But yeah, all in all, like, they're definitely the main, aside from Red Bull, which goes without saying, but Aston Martin is just really the big winners of the day, and essentially possibly the winners of the season in terms of growth, like going up the grid. So I thought, really, we talked about last episode, I thought there was no way that they were going to actually be able to out race pace Mercedes. They're out race pacing Ferrari. So I don't know, it's going to be like a Jetta, but very impressed by Aston Martin, and their car looks nice. So yeah, what did you think?
It does look very nice. I don't know if Fernando has the pace to match Leclerc, but he's proven that he can pass Sainz. But yeah, Aston Martin has without a doubt proven that they are the team to watch this season. Of course, Red Bull has, the fastest car. I don't think anybody would disagree with that statement. But Aston Martin is just absolutely just shocking. I mean, I think the hype has just gone up and down so much. I mean, people were saying that Alonso was going to get pole, hoping that they would fight. We didn't know anything literally 3 days ago about this season. So there was lots of speculation, but he put on just an amazing showing. I was like so thrilled watching him race the entire time. I'm so happy that he finally has a car that's worthwhile. I hope that this isn't the only podium that he gets this whole season. I imagine it's not. And I think without a doubt Aston Martin is going to be fighting for P3 for the constructors. I mean, they're in P2 right now, but I imagine Ferrari will take that back pretty quickly. I do think that they will put a good fight to Mercedes, though, given what we've seen so far. I mean, when Lance Stroll is, having a pretty easy time catching up to Lewis Hamilton, that's got to tell you that car is pretty good. So, that being said, Lance also deserves major props. I feel like he's probably the driver, well, forget Latifi and Mazepin for a second, but he's one of the most clowned on drivers by the two of us and by the whole F1 community, I think. So he deserves all the props that he's been getting, because like you said with the wrist injury, using his other hand to move the wheel to sort of save his wrist. And even though he did tap his teammate at the start, he put on just an incredible showing. And Fernando's quote after the race, calling him his hero, some people were saying that he's just kissing up to Lawrence Stroll's ass, but I do feel like I sense a little bit of genuine emotion there, because he did genuinely do a great job. And yeah, the team deserves it. I mean, I feel like Aston Martin is the only team that has actually fucking stuck to something that they've said. I mean, I remember at the end of season 3 or 4, it had one of those of Drive to Survive, when they bought Racing Point, or Lawrence Stroll did, and they changed it to Aston Martin, and he was like looking at the samples of the car, and he had all these aspirations. And up until literally a few days ago, everybody has just considered him to be kind of a joke. But now Lawrence Stroll could be considered, depending on where this team goes, I mean, he could be up on the levels, not up on the same level, but in the echelon of like Ross Brawn and these type of guys, these F1 legends. If he can lead Fernando Alonso to getting race wins, that deserves some commendability in my book. So I'm so stoked for Aston Martin. And I kind of wish I feel like I could have gotten Lance out of you instead of Bottas in the trade, because we didn't know shit at the time. So I really wish I
would have gone for that though.
Nope.
Lance
I would have
was
never
the steal
done
of the
that.
draft.
It was.
Yeah. Fuck was I gonna say?
And yeah, I didn't get Fernando until like my 4th or 5th pick. I mean, nobody saw this coming. I mean, everybody was excited that he was going to be on a new team, but nobody saw this coming. It's just amazing.
Shout out Mike Crack.
Shout out to Mike Crack.
His 60th birthday or something today? I don't know.
Holy
I don't know
shit.
what the number was. But they said on the radio to Alonso after, "Oh, it's it's Mike Crack's birthday. Big day for Mike Crack."
It's a big day.
Yeah.
It's Mike Crack's birthday.
That's all the teams. We're not skipping over any.
That's all the teams.
Any teams. So we can move right on to. We got. I have nothing to say about Red Bull. So fuck Christian Horner. That's all I have to say. Go ahead.
I think Red Bull. I love them, but I think there's a legitimate chance that Red Bull were actually. I mean, if an investigation was to show that, it's possible. I mean, anything's possible in F1. I don't think anybody's completely trustworthy, but I think it's possible they were sandbagging last season. I mean, this car is just unbelievable. I think Christian Horner is legitimately having to consider, like, I mean, there is no way that they would just let this slide. Like, if Max did what he did today the rest of the season, every single team principal is going to put up a fuss, and there's going to be every single eye on Red Bull. He wants the win. He wants the dominance, but it can't be. I know he knows that it can't be like this. So I guarantee you that it's not going to be like extreme levels. Like, we're not going to see like potential Schumacher, but maybe we will. If Red Bull is like 100% clean, maybe he's just like, fuck it, let's completely wipe them off the face of the earth. And if that's the case, then I just really wish I had him on my team, if that's the case. But I think it's legitimately that, I mean, this is practically the same car as last year. I don't think they changed that much. They didn't need to. It's so fast. I mean, it's unbelievable. And that's why, like, so many people have been poaching Red Bull staff and Mercedes staff too, but Mercedes staff from 2020 and 2021. So it could be a like Mercedes level dominance until 2026, without a doubt. And they just got it right. I think they nailed the concept last season. They got it right out of the gate, and they've just been able to be one step ahead of everybody else. As unfortunate as that is for people that just despise Red Bull, they capitalized on the best opportunity or the best time for the opportunity, I guess. I don't know. It is very frustrating though. I can't understand. I was really hoping that we were going to see some more like fighting at the front. But this is going to be one of the last things I say about this GP. Remember last season, if I remember correctly, Max DNF'd. He did not finish. He came out of the gate looking terrible for Red Bull. Things were not looking good for Red Bull, and they ended up winning the championship by a fucking mile. So I don't think we need to completely count this season out. We still need to keep an optimistic look at this season. Kind of have that that deluded sort of self thought that we had last season up until it just is completely lost. But we can stay delusional for now. At least I will.
So, since 2017, no driver that's won the Bahrain Grand Prix has gone on to win the World Championship. So, another record for Max to break.
Yeah, another.
So yeah, well said, Adrian. You really summed up all the thoughts of Red Bull fans there. I'm really glad you could give us a really nice opinion. It was really nice to hear that. Yeah. Moving on, we got segments. We're almost done here.
Yep.
We got our one real segment. We got a couple of segments, but bringing back, changing a little bit. But Hardo of the week and Softy of the week. Maybe we can have a little jingle. Hardo, Softy.
Hardo.
So Hardo is just like, something impressive or ballsy or courageous or whatever. And then Softy is, something kind of disappointing or kind of pussy, for lack of a better term. Not there's no derogatory term.
Yeah.
So you want to lead the way, or would you like me to lead the way?
You start off with Hardo, and I'll finish with the Softy.
All right, and then afterwards we'll do honorable mentions. So I have a couple Hardos. My Hardo of the week, though, it's really between two guys. I'm going to give it to Lance Stroll. Just really impressive. I think kind of like, honestly, I gained a little respect for him this week. Like, he's always kind of like the butt of the joke, even though he's way better than our guy Latifi was last year or Mazepin. He's way better. Like, objectively, he's a way better driver than either of those guys. And to perform like 2 weeks after breaking his wrist, drive and breaking his toe, drive a Grand Prix and finish where he did, like just really impressive. No complaining or anything either. So yeah, if he's been one to complain in the past, like, I don't know, it just I think having like a almost championship level caliber car as maybe made him grow up a bit or put things in a little different perspective. So yeah, I was impressed by Lance this week. He gets my Hardo of the week. Who's your guy? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's going to be Fernando Alonso. It's my Hardo of the week. I mean, the legend is back, and I could not be more happy. I was going to give it to Lance, but I didn't want to double up. I completely agree with everything you said about Lance, though. I kind of have gained a ton of respect for him. I did. If you had told me, like, if you had said one driver that you would have never expect would gain like just so much respect from like yourself and just the community of racing fans and from like major F1 racing legends, F1 racing
legends. Wow.
Fuck me. F1
you just have such
racing legends. I know, I'm gonna break my fucking webcam. I'm just kidding.
You don't know, Wheel.
I would have never expected it to be Lance Stroll. So it's very cool, and could see him have some major success in the future. It seems like things are really going up for him. Success. But my softie of the week is going to be Esteban Ocon. Esteban Ocon. He was just absolutely abysmal this weekend due to the car, due to himself, just due to everything. So, not a good look.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Mine is going to all of McLaren. The entire thing. Even the road cars, just all of McLaren. Just a pall on McLaren. Just a disappointing the whole brand's taking a hit right now. That was just
For sure.
Also, Zach Brown's not the team principal. Why is he doing the podcast?
Yeah, I don't know. He needs to go, though. I feel like he's really dragging the team down.
I liked him, but he's like too arrogant. They have just gone straight downhill. Like, yeah. So that's mine is McLaren. Just disappointing. My honorable mentions. Both of ours for hard were mentioned. I do want to give an honorable mention to Logan Sargent, though. Really good, impressive performance for his first race, and a guy that everyone was saying, this guy's finishing 20th, last place. Like he's supposed to be the Latifi or the Mazepin. So he remains to be seen if he will be. But I mean, for a first race, really impressive. And the only other one I had for soft, it was Ferrari. Just again, as I said earlier, Ferrari's going to do Ferrari things, and they always find a way to fuck things up and disappoint. And I'd rather be, as much as disappointed as to be a Mercedes fan right now, Ferrari fan is like, oof. So yeah, did you have any other honorable mentions you didn't get to?
Just Red Bull, absolutely domineering in this first race. Well, we'll see if they're able to keep that going the rest of the season.
Yeah. That's anything else? I mean, we've got our next race. We got a week off, and we got Jeddah, March 19th. Jeddah is a crazy track for the people. It's tight, it's fast as fuck. It's
scary.
There's going to be crashes. Yeah, Mick Schumacher had a really scary crash there last year. But it's always a good race. So, that's. I only had one more thing. Is we may be going to Miami.
Hopefully,
me and me going to Miami. We're gonna go. I don't know how long we're gonna go for, or whatever the case may be. But Miami, you might get to see your first F1 car. So, Any last thoughts from you?
Oh, I hope so. I hope we're able to see the F1 car. But the only other thing is make sure to tune in next week for our full Drive to Survive review.
Yes, and Adrian doing his punishments. That's it. Please follow us on all our stuff, subscribe, like, all of that good stuff that everyone always says. That's it for us this week. Hope everyone enjoyed the first race of the year. Obviously disappointing that Red Bull the season's already over basically, but it'll still be a good year. And thanks everyone for listening. Talk to you guys next week.